last 10 years, Patreon has been the best platform for indie game developers to grow into full-time professional creators. Treasure of Nadia, Summertime Saga, Fresh Women, Wildlife, and Carnal Instinct don't exist without the support of fans on Patreon. There is no guarantee that any of these new titles will be the next breakout hit, but by looking at the changes in the flavors, gameplay, and design of the most popular new games, it allows us to better understand where our industry is moving. So where is the industry moving? The biggest change this year is that 6 out of the 10 top games use some type of AI art, but I'll talk more about that at the end. As always, all links can be found for free on my Patreon. I know that the subject of AI art can be contentious, and that YouTube filters out a lot of comments, so feel free to post on my Patreon page if you're having trouble getting your message across. At number 10, we have NPC Tales. This is a fascinating combination of MMO tropes and the free use flavor. While this is a very early project, the developer is incredibly communicative in their interaction on Patreon. Given that, there is not much to show yet, but I really feel like early support on Patreon is more based on the promise of a concept than it is on how much content actually exists. However, what does exist looks good, and I'm really excited to see where NPC Tales is heading. Available for PC, Mac, Linux, and Android on their Patreon and itch.io. At number 9, we have the female protagonist RPG, City of Secrets. This hand-drawn and pixel art hybrid focuses on corruption and transformation, and reminds me a lot of Star Nidosora. There are a ton of flavors to explore, and as long as the developers can avoid getting in trouble with Patreon, this has the potential to be a great game. City of Secrets is available for PC, Mac, Linux, and Android on the Patreon and itch.io. Number 8, Honeylust is unusual in that the developer is working on 3 separate titles simultaneously. All 3 are variations of an emerging gameplay type where most of the interaction takes place through a cell phone. Each of these feels very similar, but the third game, Redacted Simulation, also includes the furry flavor. A new Patreon creator trying to juggle developing 3 games at the same time sounds like a nightmare to me, but the people on Patreon seem to be supporting it. Honeylust games are available as demos for PC and Android on itch.io, and you can get the full games on their Patreon. At number 7, we have My New Girlfriend. If you play enough games in this space, you will start to notice that certain words indicate certain flavors. Girlfriend is one of those words. So, unsurprisingly, you can expect a Netherase experience with this kinetic novel. My New Girlfriend is available for PC, Mac, and Linux on their Patreon. I talked about how much I enjoyed our number 6 game, Vesper, Lust and Hunger, early this year on podcast number 11. In this female protagonist drama, you play as a newly turned vampire trying to make ends meet in a harsh and unforgiving world. I completely understand that may be too realistic for a lot of players, but at least the art is really nice. Seriously though, the story is great and the game looks really polished so far. Vesper, Lust and Hunger is available for PC on Patreon and itch.io. At number 5, we have World Tamer. In this Monster Girl-focused visual novel, you have to unravel the mystery of your birth through the power of harem building. How does that work? There's this whole complicated thing with taming and genetic engineering, but I think you can get a pretty clear picture of the major flavors involved here. World Tamer is available for PC, Mac, Linux, and Android on their Patreon and itch.io. Number 4 is interesting because they started their Patreon in February with Princess Sophia, which had a pretty lukewarm response. It was only with the release of their second game, Hotime Saga, in July that we saw this Patreon explode with popularity. Hotime Saga feels like a futuristic version of Summertime Saga, just with AI art and AI voicing. I mean, if you're going to use AI to make a game, it might as well be with a game full of androids. Hotime Saga is available for PC on itch.io with a Mac and Android version on their Patreon. So number 3 is going to take a little explaining. The game is called Anomalous Coffee Machine and is loosely based on the SCP mythos, which I am not going to even try to explain, but you are welcome to check out the links I'll provide. Basically, you have a coffee machine that can convert any word you provide into a liquid, which you can then give to your female companion to consume. What happens next is quite varied, so you can expect a wide range of espresso-infused flavors. Anomalous Coffee Machine is available for PC, Mac, Linux, and Android on Patreon and itch.io. At number 2, we have another cell phone style game, Netherase Phone. I mean, I don't think I need to say anything here because this is a perfect title that conveys the primary flavor and the gameplay you can expect. It has also had a fantastic release schedule since its launch, so it is easy to see why Netherase Phone is doing so well. Available for PC and Android on Patreon and itch.io. And at number 1 we have Forbidden Fantasy. I just reviewed this visual novel from the developer of Fresh Women last month, and while this may be a shorter game for a Steam release, Forbidden Fantasy has a tremendous level of quality and content for a project that just launched on Patreon in June. The animations and renders are awesome, and now that the developer has committed to new content, there is so much to look forward to. Forbidden Fantasy is available for PC, SteamOS, and Linux on Steam, with a Mac and Android version on their Patreon. So what can we take away from this year's list? It looks like the popularity of DA's visual novels are on the decline, but given the top game, there still seems to be room for success with that format. It is also very clear that regardless of how you and I may feel about AI art, the market is speaking, and the message is clear. Gamers are perfectly happy to fund games with AI art, as long as those games are delivering constant updates. I can't tell you what that will mean for 2025, but I am looking forward to talking about it with you all over the next year. And until next time, no shaming, just gaming.